Curious what you think of the fact that Luke Carney went in and not Jakari Williams. Does that mean that Williams is most likely done with us, or at least just going to be a career backup? That is a great question proposed right there. For those that may have missed it, and I did bring this up in the post-game reaction podcast, but again, you may have missed it. You may not have checked out the game. You may not have checked out the post-game reaction podcast. That is okay. But I do apologize if you've already heard it or you've already seen it when you were watching this game. So Ricky Collins was in for Syracuse football. He's the backup quarterback for the Orange, second string on the depth chart in the fourth quarter of this game. And to this point, it was already past the point where Steve Angeli had come back in the game briefly to lead a touchdown drive. Now Ricky Collins is back in. Syracuse is in the red zone of Colgate. But after a scramble play by Ricky Collins, he loses his helmet. And in college football, if you lose your helmet, you can't just simply put it back on and keep playing. You have to come off the field for one play. So Fran Brown at this point, it would be nuts if he once again put Steve Angeli in the game for the third time. That would be crazy. So instead of turning to Steve Angeli or doing some sort of wildcat or maybe calling a timeout, I think if you call a timeout, you can get your player back on the field. He decides to go with Luke Carney. And Luke Carney, to his credit, he only played that one play, but he did execute a quarterback keeper, and he scored his first career collegiate touchdown. So now, to answer your question after setting it up, I think what it shows us is that Luke Carney is the third string quarterback of Syracuse football. We did not know this to be confirmed before the game, and I don't think it's still technically confirmed right now, but I am very, very confident in saying that Luke Carney is the third string quarterback for Syracuse football. When Syracuse in the past, they've released their depth charts, they've only said two quarterbacks on there. It was Steve Angeli, followed by Ricky Collins. We did not know who the third string guy is. I am 99% sure that it is Luke Carney, which means that Luke Carney is ahead of Jakari Williams right now on the depth chart. And also the fact that I don't think Jakari Williams, barring a huge, significant development curve for him, like he just gets significantly better in a short period of time, or there's just a boatload of injuries to Syracuse's quarterback room, which would be terrible. Knock on wood, that doesn't happen. He's likely never going to start for Syracuse football. In that case, he's got two choices, which is nice in this day and age for college football. I think this is what really the good of the transfer portal can be. We talk a lot about the bad of the transfer portal. There's some good that can come out of it too. If Jakari Williams is never really going to get an opportunity to play at Syracuse, well, he's got a couple of choices. He could decide in the offseason to enter the transfer portal and find a school out there that is willing to make him the starting quarterback so that he can get playing time. And who knows, maybe if he gets a real chance with another program, perhaps he can develop and maybe transfer his way back into the Power Four, right? That could happen. It is not unheard of for quarterbacks to go down a level or go down multiple levels, then transfer back up because they end up succeeding and they do get better because they're getting more playing time. Or Jakari Williams can say, hey, I like being at Syracuse. I know I'm not getting a lot of playing time, but you know what? I'm happy with the team. I like the coaching staff. And I like my education. At the end of the day, this is college, and you do have to worry about getting a degree. So he could just decide to say, you know what? I may get an opportunity. I'll continue working for the opportunity. I may not get an opportunity, but I'm at least going to get this education, and I'm going to learn a lot from this coaching staff. And the coaching staff's going to help me with their programs that they have in place get a job after graduation. So he's got options. But I do not think that one of those options is become Syracuse's starting quarterback one day. I think right now with Luke Carney already ahead of him on the depth chart, Steve Angeli's got another year of eligibility. Who knows what's going to happen with Ricky Collins? I don't imagine that Luke Carney is going to transfer after this year, in which case all it has to be is Angeli comes back for another year, Luke Carney comes back for another year. What's he going to be, the third string next year? He could, or he could decide to leave. Point is, I don't think he'll ever be the starting quarterback of Syracuse football. But that was a good question right there. Let's get to this one right here. This one's fun. No shot at a bowl. Pitt will beat them. NBC. Throw in Duke, and there you go. All right, Mr. Negative. Which is weird for me to say because I have been told and I have seen comments calling me negative at times because I can be negative about Syracuse and I can be negative about other teams that I cheer for. I mean, sometimes you'll hear in my ad breaks and you'll hear on the podcast that I'm not exactly optimistic about the New York Jets ever. And I'm also a New York Mets fan. I'm freaking out right now about the New York Mets. I do not think that they're going to make the playoffs. That's another story for another day, though, right? That's a different pod. You can check out Locked On Mets for more info about the New York Mets and the collapse that they are having right now in baseball. But here's the deal. I mean, look, you're not entirely wrong. You're not entirely wrong because we don't have a crystal ball. We don't know how they're going to do. They're playing their full ACC slate coming up, and their one non-ACC game left is against Notre Dame on the road in late November, where it's probably going to be 15 degrees outside. It's going to be freezing cold. They may not make a bowl. It's on the table. Those teams that you all mentioned, that you mentioned right there, Pitt, and let me pull up the comment again, Boston College and Duke, those are all coin flip games. And it's definitely possible that Syracuse flips the coin 3 times and it lands on the wrong side of the coin. They lose all 3. Could happen. But to sit here and say they have no shot at making a bowl, they can't win 4 of their final 9 games of the season to qualify for it, it may not happen. You may turn out right. But I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and say, yep, they have no shot at a bowl. I'm not calling them a national contender. They're not a national contender. Do I think they're going to play for an ACC title this year? No, I don't. I think the ceiling for this team is lower than it was last year, and I think the floor is lower than it was last year. But that doesn't mean they can't make a bowl, and it doesn't mean that they have no shot at making a bowl. They can obviously make it. It won't be easy, but they can make it. And I'm saying this as someone who, when I turn on this podcast every single day, you're getting my honest thoughts and you're getting my honest opinions. I cannot promise that I'm going to be right about everything. I'm not going to be right. I'm going to be wrong sometimes. It's bound to happen as a sports fan that you are going to be wrong, including myself. And I'll tell you when I'm wrong. I'll tell you when I'm wrong. If I remember my take, I was dead wrong about Syracuse. If they go 2-10, 3-9, 4-8 this year, even 5-7, I'll say I'm dead wrong. I thought that they could make a bowl. They didn't make a bowl. But I'm not going to sit here and say to you, they have no shot.